Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning with Podcast conversation. I'm Alex, and as always, I'm joined by the awesome Sophia. How are you, Sophia?
Hey Alex, hey listeners, I'm doing great, thanks for asking. It's so exciting to be back with all of you. We have an amazing episode today, so get ready.
That's right. Before we dive in, I just want to thank each of you for your amazing support. We've been getting some incredible feedback from listeners around the world, and it really motivates us to keep bringing you valuable content.
Absolutely. We see all your messages, your questions, and the stories you share with us. It's amazing to know that this podcast is helping so many of you on your journey to fluency. Keep it coming.
We truly appreciate each and every one of you, and for those who are sharing our episodes on social media, you're helping so many people discover the power of learning English. So, a huge thank you for spreading the word. Finally, if you have a couple of minutes to take a screenshot of this episode right now and send it to social media with the hashtag #WorkPodcast, I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, let's keep the positive vibes going. Today we're talking about a topic that I know a lot of you have asked about: how to improve your speaking skills in English.
Yes, speaking is often the most challenging part for language learners. A lot of people feel nervous or self-conscious when it comes to speaking, but today we're going to break it all down and give you the tools you need to build confidence.
Alex, let me ask you, what's the most common struggle people face when they try to speak in English?
Great question, Sophia. I think for many learners, it's the fear of making mistakes. They worry about pronunciation, grammar, and sounding perfect, which makes them hesitate to speak.
Yeah, that's totally true. A lot of people get stuck in their heads about getting everything right, which can make them freeze up or avoid speaking altogether.
And that's what we want to change today. Speaking English isn't about being perfect. It's about making progress and feeling comfortable using the language in real-life situations.
Exactly. The more you speak, the better you get, and the more you practice, the easier it becomes to express yourself. It's all about getting comfortable with the process and building confidence one step at a time.
Totally. It reminds me of how kids learn their first language. They don't worry about making mistakes, they just speak and keep trying.
Yes, they do. They learn by mimicking and interacting, and that's a big lesson for us as adult learners. If you want to get better at speaking, you need to speak.
Now let's break down some strategies for improving your speaking skills. One of the first things we recommend is to practice speaking every day.
That's right, even if it's just for a few minutes. Try to talk to yourself in English. It might feel a bit awkward at first, but the more you do it, the more natural it will feel.
You can practice by describing your day, telling a story, or even talking about what you see around you. It's a great way to get into the habit of speaking without worrying too much about mistakes.
And another great idea is to shadow native speakers. This technique helps with pronunciation, rhythm, and fluency.
Shadowing is simple. You listen to a native speaker and immediately repeat what they say, trying to match their speed and tone. It's a fantastic way to improve your speaking without feeling like you're alone.
I love this method. It's like training your brain to think in English. You can shadow conversations from TV shows, movies, or even podcasts. It's an effective way to hear how words are connected and how native speakers communicate naturally.
Another tip that's super helpful is to find a language partner or tutor. Practicing with someone else is a game changer because you'll get immediate feedback and have someone to engage with.
It's true. If you don't have anyone to speak with in person, there are plenty of online platforms where you can connect with language partners from around the world.
And you don't have to be afraid of making mistakes. Your language partner is there to help, and it's a safe space to practice and grow.
I know many of our listeners might feel nervous about speaking with a native speaker at first, but don't worry. Most people are very understanding, and they'll appreciate your effort to speak their language.
Absolutely. Native speakers love when learners make the effort. Plus, they'll often adjust their speech to make it easier for you to understand.
And speaking of adjusting, one thing you can do is slow down your speaking. When you're practicing, don't feel pressured to speak quickly. Focus on clarity and getting your message across.
This is so important, especially when you're speaking with someone who's not a native English speaker. Don't rush, take your time, and focus on pronouncing words clearly. The more you practice slow speech, the more comfortable you'll be speeding up when you're ready.
Now, another thing to consider is expanding your vocabulary.
Right. The more words you know, the more easily you can express yourself. When you learn a new word, try to use it in a sentence right away. The more often you use new vocabulary, the more natural it will feel.
Yes, and don't just focus on formal words. Learn informal, everyday language too, slang, idioms, and phrasal verbs. This will help you sound more like a native speaker in casual conversations.
Great point, Sophia. And another great exercise to improve speaking is role-playing. You can imagine different real-life situations and practice how you'd respond in those situations.
For example, you can practice ordering food in a restaurant, asking for directions, or making small talk at a party. These scenarios will help you prepare for actual conversations and feel more confident when they happen.
And don't forget about the importance of intonation and stress. English is a stress-timed language, so the rhythm and melody of your speech matter.
Yes, when you speak with the right intonation, you sound more natural. It helps listeners understand your emotions and makes you sound more fluent. So pay attention to how native speakers emphasize certain words in sentences.
To practice intonation, try mimicking the way native speakers say sentences in movies or podcasts. This will help you sound more like a natural speaker.
All right, now let's talk about one of the most important things, making mistakes. In the first 10 minutes of exercise, you will learn about the most important mistakes to avoid.
Yes, we can't say this enough. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every time you speak, you're learning. Mistakes are part of the process, and they help you grow.
The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to communicate. If you can get your message across, that's a win.
And don't forget, even native speakers make mistakes. So don't worry about being perfect. Focus on improving and communicating as best as you can.
One way to improve is by recording yourself speaking. Listen back to your recordings and try to notice areas for improvement, like pronunciation or fluency.
Recording yourself is a great way to track your progress over time. It helps you hear what you sound like and what you can work on.
Lastly, I want to emphasize consistency in your practice. Speak every day, even if it's just for a few minutes.
That's key. The more consistently you practice, the faster you'll improve. It doesn't matter if it's a short conversation or just speaking to yourself. Just make it a habit.
All right, let's wrap it up. We've covered so many great tips today, and we hope you're feeling excited to practice your speaking skills.
Remember, the key is to practice regularly, make mistakes, and most importantly, enjoy the process of learning. English education programs will help you do just that. Learn fast, practice fast, try to help others, and remember to live. English education programs. Affiliation Press.